everyone. Today our point of discussion is UNO and the Human Rights Declaration. So the steps taken by UNO regarding the protection and the safety of human rights all over the world will be discussed briefly in this point. So our point is UNO and the Human Rights Commission. So before going to learn about UNO and its steps adopted for the protection of human rights by forming this Human Rights Commission, we should know what is human rights. So what do you mean by human rights? Human rights are the rights which are inherent to a person in a country, irrespective of caste, creed, race, religion, etc. So a person after birth, what he inherits as rights are the human rights. That means these rights are the basic rights which no one can discriminate. So this UN Human Rights Commission was established. It was established on 16th February 1946. So in the year 1946, on the date 16 February, this UN Human Rights Commission was established. So in this commission, at present there are 53 members. So 53 numbers of countries are the members of this Human Rights Commission, and these members are elected for a tenure of 3 years. So these members are elected for a tenure of 3 years. That means after 3 years they may be re-elected or they may not be re-elected, or they may be replaced by other member countries. So next, in the UN Human Rights Commission, it is mentioned that the human rights of the people of the world should be protected at any cost. And this Human Rights Commission always seeks reports from the member countries of UNO or from the members of this council on the protection of human rights all over the world. So accordingly, the UN Human Rights Declaration came into being. After the formation of Human Rights Commission, UN Human Rights Declaration came into being. So UNO and Human Rights Declaration. So in this Human Rights Declaration of UNO, there is a preamble, and there are 30 articles. A preamble, and there are 30 articles in this Human Rights Declaration of UNO. So according to the preamble and the 30 articles of this UN Human Rights Declaration, there are two main objectives which are mentioned in the preamble and amidst the 30 articles of this Human Rights Declaration. So the first objective is to protect the human rights or to safeguard the human rights of the people of the world. Second one, the members of this Human Rights Declaration or the members of UN Human Rights Commission must give recognition to the rights provided to the people of the world according to the preamble and 30 articles of Human Rights Declaration. So today this was the point of our discussion. Students, I forgot to mention one important point here, that the UN Human Rights Declaration was formed on 10th December 1948. So in the year 1948, on 10th December, UN Human Rights Declaration was formed under the UN Human Rights Commission. So this 10th December of every year is celebrated as World Human Rights Day. So 10th December is celebrated as World Human Rights Day all over the world. So remember this point. Now our point of discussion is the National Human Rights Commission of India. So we will go through how the National Human Rights Commission of India came into being. So the National Human Rights Commission of India, National Human Rights Commission, NHRC India. So this NHRC, National Human Rights Commission in India, is a statutory body which was constituted on 12th October under the Human Rights Protection Act. 12th October 1993. So it was constituted in the year 12 October 1993 under the Human Rights Protection Act 1993. So under this act, Human Rights Protection Act of 1993, on 12 October 1993, this National Human Rights Commission of India, a statutory body, was constituted. So now we will go through the composition of National Human Rights Commission of India. That means by incorporating which members the National Human Rights Commission of India is being run. So how the National Human Rights Commission of India has been running. So we will go through the composition of its members. And the main duty of the National Human Rights Commission is to protect the rights of every citizen of the country. That means the citizens of India, their rights should be protected at any cost after their birth, in the country. So the composition of National Human Rights, as mentioned in the book, is the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission should be a retired Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. So composition of NHRC India. Number 1, the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission should be a retired Chief Justice. Chairman should be a retired Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. That means the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission of India should be a retired Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. So we all know that the Supreme Court of India is the apex court, no? So the Chief Justice, retired Chief Justice of this apex court of India will become the chairman of this National Human Rights Commission of India. Next, now the other members of this National Human Rights Commission will be mentioned in the board. So the other members are mentioned serially here. One member is either a serving or retired judge of the Supreme Court. Either a serving or retired judge of the Supreme Court. So one member should belongs to either a serving or either a retired judge of the Supreme Court. That means that member should be serving as a judge in the Supreme Court, or he must be a retired judge of the Supreme Court. Next, the third kind of member is two members are from those having knowledge and experience on human rights activities as activists. So this is a very important point here. Two members are from those having knowledge and experience on human rights activities as activists. So who are called human rights activists? So activist means what? Suppose if we take the example of Malala Yousafzai. So she can be considered as a human rights activist, no? Though she cannot be recruited in this National Human Rights Commission, we can consider her as a human rights activist. Similarly, our Kailash Satyarthi can also be considered as an activist, no? So such kind of people who are activists in case of human rights, from among them, two members can be appointed here. Two members from having experience in human rights activities or activists. So this is the third type of member composition in the National Human Rights Commission of India. Next, these are the main composition. So in addition to these three kind of members in the National Human Rights Commission of India, we can also consider some of the members which are mentioned in the book. In addition, the chairman of the National Minority Commission, the chairman of the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes National Commission, and the chairman of Women's Commission shall be the members of the National Human Rights Commission. The President of India appoints all the members of the commission for 5 years. Very important. All the members of all the members of National Human Rights Commission of India are elected for 5 years. They are elected for 5 years by the President of India. So the President of India elects the members of this National Human Rights Commission of India for a tenure of 5 years. So the additional members may be the chairman of the Minority Commission, chairman of the ST/SC Commission, chairman of the Women's Commission, or she might be the, or she might be the president of other such commission. Next, the commission shall take up all the human rights violation cases in India after proper scrutiny and review. It shall submit its reports to the government for necessary action. On the whole, the National Human Rights Commission must play the role of a sentinel so far the human rights are concerned. So far the human rights are concerned, this commission, this National Human Rights Commission of India will do its best for the protection of the rights of the people, so that everyone can live peacefully and happily with patience. Thank you. This is my point of discussion today.